program tonight with one of our very own, one of our best, Brother Gene Mayer with the invocation. So let's hear it for Brother Gene.
Good evening. I live with Father John Bach, and he very much wanted to be here tonight, but he picked up some bug last night, and let's just say he didn't want to be very far from a porcelain convenience, so he decided it best to stay home, but he sends his greetings to everyone. Let us begin with a prayer. Heavenly Father, for so many of us, we have this annual gathering, to celebrate camaraderie, to celebrate excellence in the athletes that we honor, to celebrate the heritage of this high school, to celebrate your love for us. Bless these athletes. We thank you for their expression of their talents in the gifts that they shared with us. We thank you particularly for Buddy, who provided our meal this evening, and for the whole La Rosa family. We ask you to bless all of us as we continue through this new year. We ask you to bless the food that most of us have already partaken of. May it be strength for us in a sound mind and a sound body. All of this we pray in the name of your Son, Jesus the Lord. Amen.
Thank you, Brother Gene. Before we get rolling, one thing we want to do is, over every year we obviously lose a lot of very good Spartans, alumni of Roger Bacon, people that have given back, huge supporters. But this past year in June, we arguably lost one of the best Spartans. Mr. Walt Reckers passed away. And those of you that have been around Roger Bacon for any time, you know what Walt meant to this place. When he graduated in the 50s, he was one of Coach Basevich's prize jewels on that team. He held every running back record in our school. He held receiver records, he held kickoff records, he held every record. Not only was Walt a great football player, obviously one of our Hall of Famers, okay, but Walt was a true Spartan who came back to Roger Bacon whenever he could, all the way up to his death. I believe he made every Stag, if I'm not mistaken, and this is our 49th. He was here at almost every football and basketball game imaginable. And so this year at our football games, if you knew Walt sat down in the one end zone and he sat in his chair. So this year, and I believe it's up on the screen there, we put his jersey on a chair to remember Walt. So if everybody would please bow your heads for a moment of silence for one of the greatest Spartans, Walt Reckers. Thank you very much. And to make it all fun again, we want to go to the Split the Pot. So if you bought a Split the Pot ticket up front in the lobby when you came in the door, please get out your ticket. It is the McDonald's 50-50 ticket. And we will have Ken Griffey pick the winner. After the Franciscan split, actually the true 50-50 split, you get $550 to the winner. Number 1530463. 1530463. Anybody? We're going to hold on to that for a little bit. Anybody got a winner? Uh-oh, another Spartan. Matt Vollmer. There we go. Matt needs that. He's one of our, the dads of one of our soccer players. So he's got to pay some tuition with that. 85 grand, right, Matt? 85? Okay, also just kind of some odds and ends things here. We do have the raffle baskets this year, and if you notice, there is quite a few different baskets. And we got two guys back there selling tickets. Okay, we will sell those tickets all the way up until Ken Griffey is announced near the end of the program here. We also make sure that the Ken Griffey Senior, the autographed jersey, as you can look behind me, we have a jersey. Okay, that's game worn, right? That's your all-star jersey when you win the MVP? No, I'm kidding. Yeah, it is. It is. It's his all-star jersey. I'm kidding. But that will be signed, so we will auction that off at the very end. We will announce the winner here. And what we'll do is when you win it, you will come up. Ken is going to sign the jersey in front of you, and then you get to take it home with you. So that's a fantastic thing that we're going to have tonight, one of our big prizes. Okay, your tickets tonight, all of your, if you got a red or a white ticket, okay, one of our big sponsors, one of our bar sponsors is Wiedemann's Brewery. Okay, and those of you that have not been to St. Bernard in a while, there are new neighbors down the street at the old M. Wally Funeral Home. And Wiedemann's, tonight after the Stag, if you go in with your ticket, you get your first beer is free on them. So we want to give a big thanks to Wiedemann's. And it's right next to chili time, so if you get a little drunk and you're hungry, you can just walk next door and get you some Conies. We want to, before we get going here, we want to just thank Buddy again. Okay, Buddy and the La Rosa family for once again giving us all the food that we eat tonight. Brother Gene made a mention of it. We couldn't do it without you, Buddy. Thank you very much. Let's give him a big round of applause. Some of our other sponsors we have here tonight, those of you that were in the VIP room for the first time ever, we had food up there, which was Hammond's Catering. They approached us about coming here and giving food up there. Outstanding food. Those of you in the VIP room, hey, let's give them guys a big shout out. That was a heck of a spread they had up there. Our bar sponsors, I already mentioned Wiedemann's, also Holy Grail, which is obviously you guys all know down on the banks, and also Sundays. Where's the Sunderman family? There's about 100 of them here tonight. Where's the Sunderman family? Let's give it up for the Sunderman family. They're one of our big sponsors as well. Tri-Health Orthopedics, where's Dr. Rice? Dr. Rice, where are you, Doctor? Dr. Rice back here in the corner. Dr. Rice is our school physician, and Tri-Health has taken care of us for years and years and years here at Roger Bacon. So let's give it up for Dr. Rice. Takes care of all of our athletes here. To the Roble family. Over here, where's our Roble family? Tom Roble obviously is our good fellowship. The award is named after him. The brother of one of the best families ever to be incorporated into Roger Bacon. You guys were adopted, what, about 40 years ago, I guess, by the Spartans, because they were Cavaliers back in the day. But welcome to the Roger Bacon once again. Let's give it up to the Roble family. Another one of our big sponsors is Roto-Rooter. They've been now a sponsor, I guess, for 5 or 6 years now, and Roto-Rooter's become a big part of Roger Bacon. One of our own, Lisa Becker, who's Lisa Reinhardt now, that would be Mr. Becker. Those of you who had Mr. Becker for a history class, his daughter has been a big supporter of us, so let's give it up for Roto-Rooter as well. And last but not least, for the thank yous, those of you that have been coming to the Bacon Stag for a number of years, always notice it up in our bathrooms, we may have had the worst hand dryers in humanity. It was better. You had a better job of blowing on your hands to get it better. So John Powers, okay, who was our resident running everything here at Roger Bacon, installed the new hand dryer. So let's give it up for JP, because that might be the biggest news of the night. That's pretty bad when we get excited about hand dryers in the bathroom. A little odd, but that's all right. Next, I'd like to introduce Steve Rossai, our athletic director, who's going to give you a little bit of information about a new campaign coming along. As you know, we arguably have one of the best home football fields in Cincinnati, and we're getting a facelift, and it's a huge facelift. Mr. Steve Rossai to let you know about it.
Thanks, Mike. Hey, those hand dryers are a big deal. Those are 5 years coming. I've had more emails and quick little comments and this and that over 5 years about those hand dryers. So, JP, thanks again. Those are fantastic. Brandon, are we going to be ready with this video in just a second? But Mike, thank you very much. Thanks everybody for coming. We are very, very excited about the upcoming renovations and upgrades to the stadium. We are lucky enough to have been able to make some changes in cosmetic upgrades to the Fogarty gym and the lobby a couple of years ago, painting, the new floor, the new wall outside, just the new banners. The concentration went back to the academic side of campus for some much needed renovations and upgrades. But now we're very happy that the focus is going to move on to Braun Basevich Stadium. As this video will show, when it's all finished, Braun Basevich Stadium will be even more fantastic and beautiful of a place that Roger Bacon student athletes, coaches, parents, alumni, and community, past, present, and future, is going to be proud of. We are very, very excited for it. Please take a moment, you may have already seen it on social media, to watch this short video of what our vision is. Thank you.
Hell yeah, there we go. As a head football coach, I'm excited as hell about that. Okay, finally we've had a really good field. Now it's going to be accessible to all fans. You see, and the biggest thing that's going to be down there is going to be the parking, the bathrooms, the locker rooms, everybody. So let's give it up to all the administrators who are putting that together and making that work. And all of you, most of you guys being Bacon guys, you know you got to leave your wallet at the door because somebody's got to pay for all that. So just be aware of that. We want to welcome all of the former Hall of Fame guys. So all the guys that have the yellow jackets on, please stand up. All of our former past Hall of Fame guys, please stand up. Now we got about 20 of them here tonight, I guess. Dutch, you can stay down if you can. Let's give it up here for the past Hall of Famers. And tonight, if you noticed, a lot of the Stag workers, the guys that are on the committee with myself, those guys tonight are in white jackets. And so I think, Brandon, if you're going to put names up on the board, all of the guys on the Stag committee, please stand up if you're in here. Let's give it up to all the guys that put the Stag together. Make this an enjoyable evening. We want to welcome our award winners tonight. Obviously, those of you that grew up here in Cincinnati and were fans of the Big Red Machine, okay, it's an honor to have Ken Griffey here tonight. Make sure it's Ken Griffey Sr. Because all of us who played in the GCL remember Junior. But Ken Griffey Sr., let's give it up. Thank you for coming tonight. We really appreciate it. Mr. Bill Carey, welcome back. How many of you had Mr. Carey for English class somewhere along the lines? Let's hear it for Mr. Carey tonight, winning the Coach's Award. Into our Hall of Famers, unfortunately, we only have 3 of the 4 here tonight. Isaac Curtis had some travel plans and had some problems getting here from California. But the 3 that are here, we've got, you look at the things, we got 2 older grads and we got 2 younger grads. For Joe and Steve, on behalf of the Stag Committee, I apologize it took you guys so long to get in here. Both of you should have been Hall of Famers a long time ago, and we're making up for lost ground. So let's give it up for the 2 older Hall of Famers. And then the one young guy that's here, Mr. Brian Schaeffer. All right, let's give it up for Brian Schaeffer for the young grad in the house. I had the pleasure of coaching Brian, so that's always fun to induct these guys. Now, for tonight, I'm basically the play-by-play guy, and I'm going to turn it over to our color guy, who is Josh Sneed. And for those of you that know Josh Sneed, he's a pretty funny guy. Those of you that don't know Josh Sneed, you're going to find out he's a pretty funny guy. He is a St. Bernardian, but he didn't go to Roger Bacon. So that's kind of an unusual thing. But the good news is his St. Bernard buddies threw you under the bus on some stories here that he all knows. His St. Bernard buddies that he knew that came here to Bacon, and that was kind of our connection here, they were telling me about his sports exploits while he grew up in the Nard. One of them was, and you can back this up when you get up here, Josh, one of them was that in your 5th grade soccer team, you were the 12th man on that 5th grade soccer team. Is that true? That is probably true. Okay? You played for the legendary coach, Mr. Decker, at St. Bernard. I heard that was a button for you. I don't know Mr. Decker, but I've heard a lot about him. Okay? But his crowning achievement evidently was when he was at a birthday party, when he was like in 6th grade for Nathan Lane. He said, "You won a gold medal for throwing a football through a tire swing, something of some sorts." Yeah, your buddies are going after you. They were telling me some good stories. And arguably, those of you that grew up in St. Bernard, and hell, even if you didn't grow up in St. Bernard, who has played at least one game down at the Pavilion? Clap it up if you played at least one game at the Pavilion. Evidently, Josh was a lifelong Nardian and never played a game at the Pavilion. Oh, that's not true? So they lied about that one. That's a possibility. So, but for those of you, obviously Josh is here because he is a comedian. He has been a comedy headliner around the country on TV. In 2008, he was voted the #2 comedian on Comedy Central's Top Comedians. His album, Unacceptable, in 2008 on iTunes was voted the top, or he was in the top 10 of comedy albums. He has opened up for numerous, too many guys to announce, other comedians that you know. He's a favorite on Bob and Tom, frequently heard on Sirius XM radio. Let's give it up to Josh Sneed.
He said your buddies gave me stuff I couldn't use. When you said you were going to go over my sports exploits, I knew that it wasn't going to take very long. I am from St. Bernard. I went to St. Bernard High School, so I'm very, thanks one guy. And it was funny because like some of my oldest, like Dave Nuri over here, I've known since probably pre-kindergarten. I mean, super early, and Dr. Singer. Like I go around the room and I just see so many people I know, and then I get to meet like I met Buddy LaRosa earlier tonight, which is he's an icon. And before I could even introduce myself, he looks at me and he goes, "What are you, about 250?" And I was like, "Yeah, a little higher than that." He was like, "Oh, higher than that. All right. We about 40?" I was like, "I'll be 42 in March. You need to get it together." I was like, "Okay." So I've been here 30 seconds, and I was body shamed by Buddy LaRosa, who is to blame for most of the weight on my body right now anyway. So that was pretty awesome. Thank you, sir. St. Bernard's a great place to grow up. It's the only part of Cincinnati where a brewery makes more sense than a funeral home. It's crazy. But, I had friends like Dave that we would play like St. Bernard sports together in the summer, and then when it came time to go to school, like they would go to St. Clement or Roger Bacon, and I would go to St. Bernard Elementary and high school. And I was raised very strict Southern Baptist, so I would always ask my mom, what's the big difference between Baptists and Catholics? And she always kind of danced around it, but all I knew is that I had more fun when I hung out with my Catholic friends at their house, and I had more fun dating the Catholic girls than I did the St. Bernard girls. So it's great 42 years later to finally see what goes on in this place. It is also ironic that I decided to leave a career at Procter & Gamble as an IT guy to go to Hollywood and try to become a famous comedian. And I was able to, do a special on Comedy Central and play these amazing venues. And it has culminated to doing a gig in a gymnasium 8 blocks from the house I grew up in. I made it. For all dudes. I do have a lot of memories of Roger Bacon growing up, high school football. I went to Roger Bacon games because we didn't have anything to do that time of year at St. Bernard. And they have a football team now at St. Bernard, and I would still probably go to Roger Bacon games because I went to one of those. They play here. I'll tell you another memory I have of Roger Bacon. It's actually also kind of funny that it's tonight. Is I heard about Ken Griffey Jr. I heard he was like this amazing baseball player that was coming up, and I was like, I want to see this guy play. And I saw they were playing Roger Bacon at Ross Park. So I decided to go down, and I saw Ken Griffey Jr. hit a home run over the fence at Ross Park when I was in high school. I was like in junior high, and like it's just kind of funny that now I'm about to introduce you, and your son was the reason that those years aren't up on that baseball chart up there. A lot of people ask, the same questions after shows that I do. How'd you get into stand-up? Why'd you become a comedian? And the best way that I can sum it up is I became a comedian because I feel like I'm funny all the time. And I don't mean 24 hours a day where it's like annoying and I don't turn it off. What I mean by that is I'm not only funny when I'm on stage. And the problem with that is that when I'm funny out there in the real world, people aren't ready for it, Like I don't have a microphone and people facing me waiting to hear something funny. So like a lot of times, really good jokes go to waste. So I started doing stand-up to give my humor the second chance at life that I believe it deserves. And the best example of this was last Valentine's Day. I was at Kroger, and I was in the floral department, and I was looking for that perfect bouquet of flowers to take home. And there was another gentleman a couple feet away from me doing the exact same thing. And out of nowhere, he just turns to me and he's like, "Man, it's crazy how much money you got to spend on something that's just going to die." And I was like, "I know, man. And you got to buy them flowers." Now, maybe the funniest thing I've ever said in my entire life. But he wasn't ready for it. He was like, "Well, good luck, buddy." And he walked away, and I was like, it's a good thing I got that Roger Bacon gig coming up so I can tell that one again. But it is good to be here, and I'll just tell you this quick story. I want you to know I mean it. I mean it when I say it. It's good to be here. A lot of comics say that just as an aside when they go on stage, but I do mean it because this is a great gig, and I know because I've done terrible gigs. I've done stand-up dressed like an umpire at a minor league baseball game. That is a terrible gig. I've been at this, it'll be 21 years next month, and 6 months in, I didn't know that there are gigs that you're not supposed to take. So when the woman from the Dayton Dragons came up to me after the show and said, "How would you like to play in front of a sold-out stadium?" I was like, "Lady, I've been doing this half a year. I think I'm more than ready for it." And that may have been the dumbest thing I've ever said in my life. So the idea was that I would pretend that I was going to be an umpire, and they were going to introduce me on the field in between innings to just give the crowd something fun to listen to for a couple minutes. So I drive up to Dayton. They give me my umpire uniform, which is 2 sizes too small. Not a good look on me. And I realized that when this guy was like, "I think your chest protector's on funny." I was like, I'm not wearing a chest protector. This is a medium. And I started having doubts about the whole thing. I was getting in my own head, and I was like, man, what's going to happen if this goes as bad as I think it's about to? I'll never forget this guy. He was literally the biggest man I've ever met in my life. He was like 6'7", 280. I mean, he was like enormous. And he was like, look, man, I play linebacker for the New York Jets. And I spend my summers here because my wife is from here, and I just do this for fun. And everybody out there, they know me, and they love me. And if anything goes wrong, I'll come out and save you. I was like, all right, I appreciate that. So I'm supposed to go out in between the 4th and the 5th inning. In the bottom of the 4th inning, there's a close play at home plate. And the umpire makes a horrible call. And everybody knows it's a horrible call because they keep replaying it on the Jumbotron. Well, he gets into an argument with Willie Mo Pena and throws him out of the game. Then he gets into an argument with the Dragons manager and throws him out of the game. And now 10,000 people are booing the man that I'm going to pretend to be in about 30 seconds and trying to make him laugh. And I was like, I don't think I can do this. He was like, if you don't go out there, we can't pay you. And I was like, all right, let's do this. So I pull the mask down. The regular umpire comes into the dugout. And they said, tonight's umpire is also a stand-up comedian. He's going to do some of his jokes for you. And I step out into the field. Boo! You suck! I hear everything you can think of as I'm walking the home plate. So I start making fun of the flea market and the people who go there. And by the end of the material, they're listening. They're not laughing, but they're not booing. And now I have to decide, do I want to finish with some dignity or just fly this plane straight into the mountain? I chose the latter. And I was like, are there any NASCAR fans here tonight? And they're like, yeah. I was like, NASCAR is huge. And they're like, yeah. And I was like, at the flea market. Boo! Hot dogs, pretzels, everything you can think is coming at me as I stand there basking. I don't know how to describe it, but there's something exhilarating about feeling pure hatred from that many people at one time. But this has clearly not gone the way it's supposed to, so I'm looking for that guy to come out. So I see him jogging out of the dugout. He's coming at me, and I'm like, cool, here, everybody's going to get let in on this joke. And he doesn't slow down. He speeds up and just spears me. I mean, just as hard as he can. I'm now laying on home plate. I have no idea what's happened. I'm pretty sure I've sustained a spinal injury, and 10,000 people could not be happier about it, right? They're just, kick his ass, right? So this guy scoops me up like a rag doll, just throws me over his shoulder, picks up the microphone. Hey, Dragon fans, I'll take out the trash tonight. Yeah! So I'm just limp over his shoulder as we're walking back to the dugout. And the wind is completely knocked out of my system. So I'm doing this sound. We get back underground, and he was like, dude, were you crying out there? I was like, no, I wasn't crying. I can't believe I did this shit for $35. So yeah, Roger Bacon, it's good to be here. Now, let's get... What's that? You want me back? Sure, sir. All right. I don't know who the hell that guy is, but he is. Like, he never went here. He just shows up, eats pizza. All right. Also, where's Michael Flannery? Where are you, sir? He left? Michael Flannery is one of my favorite people in Cincinnati. He was hosting over in the VIP room. Just in case he's still within earshot, can we give him a round of applause? That's my guy. Okay. Let's get to the fun stuff, the important stuff. I have the pleasure of introducing the Hall of Fame inductees, which are almost comical, some of these accolades and how long that they have been away from this school, and they're just now getting in to your Hall of Fame. I mean, that is absolutely bonkers. If that's one thing, if you would have gone to St. Bernard, you would have been in like before you graduated, probably. I think they're taking guys that are just good at cornhole right now. I mean, like it's pretty bad. Up first, Joe Watzik, class of 1967. Joe, nope, I'm gonna read all about you. Unless you want to stand, you can stand. Absolutely. All right. He was the youngest of 4 boys to graduate from Roger Bacon. Joe lettered in track and football his sophomore year. In his junior year, Joe was recognized for his accomplishments on the football field as he was named first team All GCL, second team All State, first team All Cincinnati Enquirer, and first team All Cincinnati Post and Times, all on defense. His senior year, he was first team All GCL, first team All State, first team All Southwest Ohio, and first team Cincinnati Enquirer and Cincinnati Post and Times. He was also honorable mention All-American on defense. After graduating Roger Bacon in 1967, he attended the University of Louisville, where he became a tri-captain of the freshman football team. He started for the U of L against the Cincinnati Bearcats and Greg Cook. Louisville was league champs his junior year, and they played in the first Junior Rose Bowl in Pasadena and was coached by Lee Corso. Injuries cut into his senior year, and he graduated from Louisville in 1972 and began working as a photographer for Jefferson County government in Louisville, where he met his wife, Glenda. In 1978, he began his own business, Metropolitan Photography, which he owned until he went back for his master's degree in secondary education and special education at the University of Indiana and began a teaching career, which he retired from in 2014. He has been married for 32 years and has 2 daughters, Jean and Samantha. He now enjoys retired life in Prospect, Kentucky. Ladies and gentlemen, Joe Watzik.
Thank you. Long overdue. I was a holdout. What I'd like to say is, I'm the youngest of 4 boys, and I had a brother that he died 2 years ago. And when I went up to see him in Port Huron, Michigan, we talked long about my dad. In 1955, my dad, who was a brick contractor, was introduced to Bron Basevich. And Bron Basevich asked him if he would build the grotto. Everybody's familiar with the grotto. Our Lady of Victory grotto. My dad was responsible for building that. Now, what I'd like to see is about a 5x7 plaque put on commemorating that my father, Ed Watzik and Sons Brick Contractors, built that and donated it to the school. And I think that that would be an honor for him. So that's what I'm pushing for, Coach. Now, there's one story, you know, Bacon, the tradition, just unbelievable, the tradition. Playing for Coach Basevich, I think we lost 2 games in my 3 years. When I was at Bacon, we flew to 2 games up in Cleveland, Padua and St. Joe. It's unheard of. I went to college and I talked to people, and they couldn't believe that we had a high school team that fly to 2 games. And so that was pretty remarkable back then. But that's the way Coach Basevich was. Never second class to anybody. He was always top notch. He taught me so much that I could write a book about just playing under Basevich. He was a remarkable guy. Now, I look around here and I see his family and I see friends from back in Corryville. And, you know, people just one of my buddies on Facebook, I'm a Facebook fanatic, he said, "Why didn't you go to University of Cincinnati?" And I told him, I said, if I would have gone to UC, I would have hung around with the same guys, always getting in trouble. Always getting in trouble. We were called the Corryville Rats. And they're here now. And I'd like to acknowledge them back there in the back of the room. But they were great people. They're still great people. And we made it. And I think I'm the second guy. John Castleman came from my grade school, St. George. And so I'm part of the guys. I was one of the Coreyville Rats too. So we made it. We finally got here. But there's one story I was going to tell y'all, you know. When I was going to school here, they probably still did every first Friday. Every first Friday, you would go to communion. So they made sure you could receive communion by going to confession the day before. So every Thursday, first Friday, first Thursday, we would go to confession up in the old gym. They had little confessional set up. So I would always go to Father Allen. Everybody knows Father Allen, no matter what you did. 3 Our Fathers, 3 Hail Marys. So, you know, I would go to Father Allen. Well, I went to Father Allen, got my 3 Our Fathers, 3 Hail Marys, and the act of confession. So I'm there praying. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I forgot to tell him about that new girl I met up by UC. She was a teacher. She was going to teacher school, and she tried to teach me a few things. But anyway, I had forgot about her, so I'm sitting there saying my confession. I'm thinking, oh my God, I got to go back to confession because now I know that I forgot something. So I take the shortest line. Father Lucian. Okay? Father Lucian's there, and he's got nobody in line. So I go in, said, bless me, Father, for I have sinned. My last confession was 15 minutes ago. He says, Judas, priest almighty, Watzik, what could you have done in 15 minutes? So I had explained to him that I forgot, but he knew my name. I had no idea that he knew me. And I'm thinking, oh, geez, now he knows my story. So that was something that I'll never forget, especially, you know, he gave me more for just that one fling than Father Allen did for all the other stuff. But that was part of the Bacon tradition. And I finally made it through all these years. I'm retired now. Thank God. I'm not looking for a job, so I didn't have to write a big speech, impress anybody. But it's an honor to be here. I'm really, truly honored to be part of the Bacon Hall of Fame. And it'll look good on a resume if I ever need it. Thanks.
Thank you, Joe. Congratulations.
I didn't try.
All right. I hope they get that plaque done for you. That'd be really cool. It might be a couple years because they just spent all their money on hand dryers, but we'll come up with it. We'll come up with it. Up next, Steve Haim, Crider, class of 1975. Steve is a Cincinnati native who excelled at baseball and football during his time at Roger Bacon. He was highly decorated as an All-GCL, All-State, and All-American. After receiving 93 Division I scholarships, Steve decided on the University of Notre Dame, where he was an inside linebacker on the Notre Dame Fighting Irish football team from 1975 to 1978 under Coach Dan Devine. He was a 4-year starter and won the 1977 NCAA National Championship, a season in which he led the team in tackles. He was selected as an All-American Honorable Mention for the 1978 season and the Defensive MVP in 1978. He is the number 4 leading tackler in the history of Notre Dame football. He received his Bachelor of Business Administration degree in 1979 from Notre Dame. Steve was drafted in the 1979 NFL Draft to the Baltimore Colts as the 197th overall pick. After a 4-year career playing for the Colts, Steve suffered a career-ending injury and moved back to the Cincinnati area. He later started his own company, A Special Event. As president of A Special Event, Steve works with local celebrities and professional athletes to raise money for local charities through 2 annual events, the Basketball Extravaganza and the Celebrity Softball Classic. Steve has served as the president of the company for 30 years. Steve is currently living in Fort Thomas, Kentucky with his significant other, Kelly Rossi. He enjoys spending time with his family, sisters Lori Sly and Lynn Welch, and brother Skip Haim Crider, Roger Bacon class of 1976, as well as their spouses, children, and grandchildren. Steve recently said goodbye to his lifelong sidekick, his father, Fred Haim Crider, who passed away in early 2018 at age 87. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Steve Haim Crider.
Thanks for you there, bud. Thank you. With Joe, that's a tough act to follow. I'd like to thank everybody here at Roger Bacon for making this possible. It is a privilege and honor to be included in the Roger Bacon Hall of Fame. I just had one question. What took you guys so long? First of all, I want to thank my mom and dad, who are no longer with us. Many of you know, my dad was my best friend and my biggest supporter. He passed away last February. We all know he's here with me tonight and is so proud. My dad was the driving force behind my success in football. He and my mom were there for me every step of the way. It all began when I started playing for the Tomahawks, which was a select football team for grade school kids. I'd like to thank my coach that's here tonight, and good friend Dick Seitz. Dick, would you please stand up? Dick was my very first football coach, and boy, was he a tough one. He taught me the fundamentals and the work ethic that carried me through my football career when I was only 10 years old. Dick, thank you very much. You were one hell of a football coach. Next, I want to thank all the coaches here at Roger Bacon, and especially the late, great Bron Basovich. Coach Basovich was the big reason why I came to Roger Bacon. We had a phenomenal program here at Bacon. We competed with all the big GCL schools. The GCL is one of the best football leagues in the entire country. When I got to Notre Dame, I realized how well the GCL prepared me for college football. I was very fortunate to have several offers to play college football. Let me share a quick little story about the recruiting process, at least with my family. It was a lot different back in 74 and 75 than it is now. I had schools coming to our house to pick me up, drop me off at school, and then they would be there when I got home, and whether they had an appointment with our family or not, you would just get pitched by a different school, them just hoping that you would find some interest. There would be Woody Hayes there and Bo Schembechler, and it really didn't make a difference. My mom used to play the Notre Dame fight song every morning. That's how I would wake up every morning. Now, we all know moms know best, so I chose the Fighting Irish. We ended up winning the national championship in 1977 with Joe Montana as quarterback. This is my national championship ring. Looking back at my years in South Bend, they were some of my best years of my life. I was drafted by the Baltimore Colts in 1979. Unfortunately, my career was cut short due to a head injury, which created epilepsy that I deal with now. I was released from the league after 4 years, but I had a great run, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. There's a couple more people that I would like to thank. Because when I came here to Roger Bacon, I was a tough act to follow, and my brother had to follow me. He graduated in 1977. His name's Skip Haim Crider. I love you, Skipper. There's another person that I would like to thank. And when you come to Roger Bacon, it's changed a lot since I've been back here. But I still get the feeling. My best friend when I was here, his name was Rick Bulldog Reddy. He was a coach here for about 3 or 4 years, a head coach. He died about 10 years ago. And I just feel his presence by me. I just want to tell Rick that I love him and I miss him a lot. To end this, it was great to be back here at Roger Bacon tonight with many family and friends. I can't thank you enough for this special honor. Thanks.
Up next, Isaac Curtis III. Isaac Curtis III is a 1992 graduate of Roger Bacon and played football and basketball. He was first team All-GCL in basketball, averaging 18.8 points a game. For the Spartan football team, Isaac ranks as one of the top 3 wide receivers of all time in school history. He has the distinction of being in the football record books 12 times. Notably, these records are 3 touchdowns in a game versus Chaminade, #1 in school history when he graduated, 196 yards in a game versus Alter, #2 all-time, 9 catches in a game, #3 all-time, 88-yard touchdown catch, #3 all-time, 45 catches in a season, #2 all-time when he graduated, 9 touchdowns in a season, #3 all-time, 57 career catches, #2 all-time, 9 career touchdowns, #2 all-time when he graduated. Isaac then attended the University of Kentucky on scholarship and was a 3-year letterman, earning a bachelor's degree in social work. He was the 1994 Chevrolet Player of the Game against the University of Florida and the most valuable wide receiver in 1997. He then played professionally for the Jacksonville Jaguars as a tight end and the Miami Dolphins, and he finished his professional career with the Berlin Thunder of NFL Europe. Isaac is a native of Los Angeles, California. He was born on January 30th, 1974, to Isaac Curtis II and Diana Curtis. He currently resides in Downey, California with his 2 sons, Cody and Isaiah, and his girlfriend, Catherine. Isaac works for the South Central Los Angeles Regional Center, one of the 21 mandated regional centers in the state of California that ensures the intellectual disability population has equality and individual choice. Isaac also held positions in the mental health field throughout his career. Give it up for Isaac Curtis III. Unfortunately, Isaac could not make it tonight at the last minute, but he did send a thank you that Mike is going to read.
Yeah, unfortunately, Isaac, we heard from him Monday, I guess, and he lives out in California, and he wasn't able to make it, travel arrangements with the families, but he wanted to send along this very quick message. He says, this is from Isaac. He says, I'm sorry I could not make it today. I would first like to thank my parents for making the decision to send me to Roger Bacon. I would like to thank all of my great teammates that I played with, and a deep love for Coach Gus Doros. I would like to thank all faculty and support I received at Roger Bacon. I want to say thank you to the Stag Committee for the recognition. And lastly, he would like to salute all of the inductees tonight into the Hall of Fame. Congratulations, and thank you very much.
Our final inductee for this evening is Brian Schaeffer, class of 1998. Yeah. Brian was a member of the Roger Bacon varsity basketball team from 1996 to 1998. Brian has his name frequently in the Roger Bacon basketball record book, most notably 928 career points, 11th all-time, 225 career assists, second all-time, and 144 career three-point field goals made, second all-time. Brian was first-team GCL in 1997 and 1998, and is the third all-time three-point field goals made in the history of GCL North. Brian was also the slam dunk champion senior year at Midnight Madness, the brown and gold scrimmage to start the season. That's pretty impressive, I'm not gonna lie. I believe it. Brian was also a member of the Roger Bacon baseball team from 1995 to 1998, where he earned first team GCL in 1998 as a pitcher and led the team in batting average for 1997. Brian was also a member of the Roger Bacon football program 1995 and 96, seeing time as the freshman quarterback, JV running back, and varsity kick returner as a sophomore. Brian was awarded the Braun Basevich All-Sports Trophy Male Award winner in the class of 98. Brian was a member of the Northern Kentucky University men's basketball team, go Norse, from 1999 to 2001. Brian is currently employed in sales with Gexpro Cincinnati. Brian is the son of David Schaeffer, 1973, and Vicky Schaeffer, and the grandson of Richard Schaeffer, class of 1949. He's married to Kelly Begley Schaeffer, class of 98, and they have 3 children, Will, Anna, and David. He currently lives in Ross, Ohio. Please welcome Brian Schaeffer.
First of all, I'd like to thank the Stag Committee, all the sponsors, volunteers that make tonight happen. And congratulations to my fellow inductees, well overdue. But this has been my favorite Stag so far. I remember as a kid going to varsity football games, watching my best friend's brother play quarterback. The lights, the excitement, I knew I wanted to play in that environment. I couldn't wait to be a Northwest Knight. But hey, going into the Roger Bacon Hall of Fame is even better. When I was young, I loved to play sports. I would spend endless hours in our neighbor's driveway shooting, and then finally my own. Mom and Dad finally bought me a hoop and expanded the driveway a bit after years of begging. I would mark up the side of the house throwing tennis balls and playing my own baseball game. I was a shy kid, but very competitive. Didn't have a lot of friends because of that. My mom would tell me if I let other kids beat me once in a while in sports or games, I'd have more friends. And I told her I'd just rather win. But luckily, my brother Keith was a nice, outgoing kid. So I used his friends to practice on. Keith, thanks for having friends, being a great brother growing up, and keeping my ego in check over the years. Basketball eventually became my favorite. Mom and Dad would rebound for me constantly. Summer heat, winter snow, it didn't matter. They would drive me across the city to multiple games in the same day. Thank you to my mom and dad for all your sacrifices, allowing me to play sports growing up. I had some great coaches growing up that helped me develop my skills and passion for sports. Tommy Sunderman in basketball, Don Mueller in baseball, Tim McCoy in football, are a few I wanted to mention. They all contributed to making me a better athlete and a better person. My dad also helped coach my teams growing up. He was a very positive coach, and he had a way to put things in perspective, especially after difficult games later in my career. 8th grade year, I was going to Pleasure Run Middle School, and sports were cut, and the district was threatening to cut high school sports. At that point, I played football at St. Bart's and made some friends on the team that were going to Roger Bacon. Guys like Tommy Watkins, Ben Otto, BJ, Ungie, Borgs, those in attendance tonight. Thank you for welcoming me to your team in 8th grade. My parents made another big sacrifice in allowing me to go to Roger Bacon with these new friends. It was expensive. It wasn't close to our house, but my dad and grandpa, being graduates, I think helped with that decision. Attending Roger Bacon and playing in high school athletics was one of the best decisions I ever made. Started with freshman football and Coach Blout, a rookie coach at the time, but look at you now. 20 years later, you made varsity. In all seriousness, congrats on your success, Coach Blout, and I'm glad my class could be your guinea pigs to start your career. I remember playing quarterback, getting tackled on the first down chains. My mom's coming down to the trainer and saying to put me back in while I had cartilage and ligaments and blood coming out of my arm. She said we had relatives in the stand. It was only the first quarter. But all in all, it was a positive first experience at Roger Bacon. Baseball, I played for head coach Roble. Great time, larger than life, and one of my favorite teachers at Roger Bacon. When I come back to Roger Bacon years after graduating, Coach Roble would tell me the story of playing Chaminade Julienne. It looked like rain. Nobody wanted to travel up there for an hour and just have the game rained out. So we all loaded in our cars, got up there. We warmed up for 5-10 minutes. I was set to pitch. He said, "How long do you need?" I said, "Let's just go." So I went out there, and as Coach Roble said, we kicked their ass. Basketball career started with Coach Thompson and Coach Speed, freshman year, laying the foundation for a tremendous team. 2 young coaches at the time that shared their love of the game and enthusiasm with us. I did have to deal with Coach T's snarky comments throughout my whole entire career, though. Varsity basketball, the late Coach Brewer, Chenault, Coach Neal, Coach Thompson. Coach Brewer was a tough but fair coach. He made me a better player and made me work harder at my game than I ever had. I remember one particular film session. He rewound the film. We didn't play particularly well, but there was a kid in the film not getting back on transition defense. I knew who it was, but he couldn't make it out. Still VHS, kind of grainy. So I had my head down, not trying to make eye contact. Then I heard it. Effing Schaeffer. Effing Schaeffer thinks it's a walk in the park out there. He was, like I said, he could be tough, but he was honest and he held you accountable. He was also generous, paying for team dinners, and the first player to hit a half-court shot, putting the team dinner on his credit card. He put his credit card down for deposits on gas scooters in Florida tournament for a bunch of underage kids attending a holiday tournament. We were all excellent drivers, however, especially on the driveway. Maybe not all of us. Lakes, Merkel, I don't know. All my teammates may be better players, whether in games or in practice. I play with some unbelievably talented players here today. Thank you to all of you, Brandon, Lakes, Gene, Smitty, Schuster, Starkey, Merkel, Neeson. I could go on. In practice, the battles were harder than the games. Honestly, they were. There was a brown and gold slam dunk competition. There's a tape somewhere. My kids don't believe me, but I tell them I was once a slam dunk champion. It's out there. It's legit, I think. The atmosphere at games is something I will never forget, from the music playing as we warmed up to having the Brew Crew fans behind the bench, and then having Schaeffer's Corner up in the stands. My family would fill a full section of home bleachers at times, numbering over 50 relatives to watch me play. The support from family and friends as I played high school and college athletics was overwhelming. I could go on and on with the list of people that attended my games and followed my career. Too many to name, all of you, but a special thanks to my grandma Schaeffer and my Aunt Barb. I want you to know how much I appreciate the time you spent going to all my games growing up in high school and in college. I took my competitive nature and passion for sports into adulthood, and while it may have cost me a few technicals in my coaching career or some rubber ducks being thrown onto a court as I was exited out of a gym, it has served me well for the most part. Finally, and most important, I met my wife at Roger Bacon, Kelly. Thank you for all your love and support over the 20 years we've been together, and the 3 great kids we have, Will, Anna, and David. Thank you very much. Go Spartans.
Now, real quick, before we get to the 2 major awards that we have going on tonight, the ticket sales for any of the prizes in the back and for the autographed Ken Griffey Jr., or Ken Griffey Jr., I knew I was going to say that, Ken Griffey Senior jersey behind me, we will, those are going to end here at the end of Mr. Carey's speech. So make sure you get your tickets on that. But now I'm going to turn it back over to Josh to introduce Mr. Carey.
Up next, we have the recipient of the Bron Basevich Award, Bill Carey. William Carey taught English at Roger Bacon for 42 years. In addition to teaching and assisting with publications, he coached swimming and track and field and worked with students to produce the yearbook. He served as the English department chair for over 20 years and served over 30 years on the academic board and the principal's advisory board. Bill was awarded the Joseph A. Knipe Distinguished Service Award in 2000, which is the most prestigious award that is given to a Roger Bacon faculty and staff member each year. There is also a graduation award named after him, the William P. Carey English Award, which is given to the best English student each year at graduation. Bill Carey was named GCL Swimming Coach of the Year 8 times during his tenure as head coach of the Spartans. 7 of those honors came consecutively from 1996 to 2002. During that stretch, the boys swimming team captured the league title 8 times in a row from 1997 to 2004. During that time, Bill also coached numerous Spartans to the state tournament. Bill is enjoying his retirement with Shannon, his wife of 47 years, his 4 children, and 3 grandchildren. Please welcome this year's Bron Basevich Award winner, Bill Carey.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the honor here this evening. As you heard, I taught here at Roger Bacon. I taught English for over 40 years, and so I'm quite comfortable talking in front of a group of people in 45-minute segments. But I promise tonight that I will heed the words that my good friend Jim Uhrig told me. Old King Henry VIII must have said to each of his 6 wives, "I won't keep you long." I knew Bron Basevich. I am no Bron Basevich, but I appreciate receiving an award named for him. There are a number of people I would like to thank. First of all, I would like to thank my wife and children for the sacrifices that they made during my coaching years. I missed too many of my own children's competitions and events, and I forced too many late dinner times. All 4 of my children were competitive swimmers, and 2 of their coaches had a big impact on the kind of coach that I became. I want to recognize the influence of the late Michael Nochek, who coached my children at the Gamble Nippert Y on the west side, and then became the head coach at Oak Hills High School. I also would like to thank his successor at Gamble Nippert, Coach Carrie Bellier, who provided me with innumerable coaching tips as I sat there watching my own children progress through age group swimming. Early in my career, I learned that if I wanted to be successful, I should surround myself with people who really knew what they were doing. I was blessed to coach alongside Coach Ellen Brewster, Coach Andrea Lemmink-Schwartz, Coach Jan Feichner Ryan, none of whom could be here tonight, and also Coach Paul Feichner. Without these people, our athletes would not have been able to have the successes that they achieved. Starting in 1974, I had the good fortune to work for some very knowledgeable track coaches, starting with Jim Demo and Dave Feichner, and moving on to Tom Thompson and Kevin Huxell. Along the way, I learned the importance of having fun while working hard from the inimitable, the late, great Coach Tom Roble. Finally, I would like to thank all of the Bacon swimmers and runners who believed in what we were doing and helped our teams achieve their goals. Thank you very much.
Now, before we go to the Tom Roble Award, just a couple of quick announcements. Once again, we're shutting down the ticket sales on the prizes in the back, including the Griffey signed jersey. So we're closing that down just as we speak, so last call on those. In terms of the Hall of Fame inductions, I know I say this every year, but you know, with Joe and Steve having to wait so long to get into the Hall of Fame, you know, us on the Stag committee, there's still a serious logjam of Spartans who have not got in, and that's because for the first 20, 25 years of the Stag, only one athlete went in per year. So there is a logjam. So obviously we still know there are guys out there with incredible accomplishments like Joe and Steve that have not gotten in. We're working on it. We're working on it. That's all I can say is we're working on that. As we've said in the past, obviously 3 sport guys that were very accomplished here would get first nods, 2 sport guys, and then 1 sport guys where you dominate, and that includes all city, all Southwest Ohio, all state, things of that nature. They get you in. So if you're wondering why maybe a buddy of yours is not in the Hall of Fame, pretty good chance he's just caught in the log jam. We do have a pretty substantial list of guys who are very, very deserving, and at some point we'll finally catch up. But when you got 92 years of history and you have all the sports that have been played here at Roger Bacon, we got a lot of dudes that have played here. So we're catching up on that. And like I said, I want to apologize to Joe and Steve because they've had to wait a long time to get in here. So now, last but not least, I'm going to turn it over here to Josh to introduce the Tom Roble Good Fellowship Award.
It is my honor to introduce the Tom Roble Good Fellowship Award this year to Ken Griffey Sr. He was a late round pick, draft pick by the Reds in 1969. and Griffey worked his way steadily through the Reds minor league system before breaking into the star-laden Reds clubs of the decade in 1973. It wasn't until 1975 that Griffey became a starter on the club, when he emerged as the club's starting right fielder and would forever be known as one of the Great Eight, the moniker affixed to the Big Red Machine starting 8 position players. Griffey hit .305 in his first full season as a starting player, the first of 5 300-plus seasons he would enjoy in a Reds uniform. Griffey also recorded a .391 on-base percentage in 1975, serving as a crucial top-of-the-lineup role as a table setter for the Machine's middle-of-the-order bats. The Reds surged to the best record in baseball in 1975, winning a franchise record 108 games en route to the club's first World Series victory since 1940. The Reds repeated as world champions in 1976, and Griffey advanced the cause with his career season. He engaged in a season-long race for the National League Batting Championship, a title he lost by a single point on the season's last day. In addition to a career-best .336 batting average, Griffey also set career highs in on-base percentage with .401, 34 stolen bases, and 189 hits, and he earned the first of his 3 All-Star Game selections. Griffey continued to perform at an all-star level through the end of the decade and into the next, as his .311 batting average paced the 1981 Reds club that finished with baseball's best overall record, but was denied a postseason berth due to the split-season playoff format the owners adopted as a result of the players' strike. The 1981 season proved to be the last hurrah for the last vestiges of the Big Red Machine, as Reds ownership initiated a significant trade of soon-to-be free agent Griffey to the New York Yankees. After 6-plus solid season with the Yankees, Braves, Griffey returned to the Reds in 1988, where he became a respected elder statesman on a young and talented club that was very close to returning to the championship form when the Reds fans had grown so accustomed over the previous decade. The breakthrough season arrived in 1990, when the Reds remained in first place every day throughout the season and won the club's first world championship since 1976. Griffey was a reserve player on the 1990 club for most of the season until roster demands resulted in his release in August. His teammates were incensed over the decision to let go of the player they had come to call Gramps, which I'm sure you love that, right? And you've been called worse, and showed their respect for him by awarding him a full World Series share despite his early departure from the club. Disappointed, though, Griffey was by his release, these feelings were greatly tempered when he signed with the Seattle Mariners and fulfilled his dream of actually playing with his son in the major leagues. Griffey Jr. had debuted with Seattle the year before, and in 1990 was in the midst of his first All-Star season of his illustrious career. On September 14, 1990, I remember it like it was yesterday, the Griffeys became the first father-son duo to homer in the same game. That's amazing. That's amazing. Griffey Sr. retired as a player following the 1991 season. He returned to the Reds organization as a coach in '97 and served in that capacity until 2001, when he took a position in the front office. In 2010, Griffey was named the hitting coach of the Reds' single-A minor affiliate in Dayton, Ohio. Elected to the Reds Hall of Fame in 2004, he is the only player in Reds history to play for 3 Reds World Series champion teams. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the great Ken Griffey Sr.
I didn't think I'd get that much. I just want to thank everybody, I just want to thank Roger Bacon for just inviting me here. It was a long trip, 9.5 hours in the car with my older brother from Philadelphia in the dead of winter. So I just appreciate this whole thing, just being here, being able to just accept this award. And it's just been a pleasure. I mean, Cincinnati's been my home, to be honest with you. I mean, I lived here for 28 years out in Westchester, where one of his friends I knew very well, a guy named Gary Owens, who lived out in Westchester. But they told me I could talk for at least 2-3 hours. But I think I'll figure out talk about a couple minutes because everybody wants to know a couple of stories. I know a couple of people in here wanted to hear about a cab ride I took in Atlanta. I don't want to talk about it.
You gotta tell me later.
But I'll tell you about it. All right. There was a situation, I think 1975. We were down in Atlanta. I had a friend that played in the band. And we were at the old Fulton County Stadium, and there was a hotel sitting up on top of the hill. And they were going to play in the lounge that night. So I decided, you know, I was going to go up and visit him, say hi, and listen to the band. And when I got up there after the game, George asked me, did he want me to go with him? And I said, nah, you wouldn't like music anyway. So anyway, I went up and decided when I got there, the band wasn't as good as he said they were. So I decided I'd walk back to the hotel, which is walking down through the ghetto, which wasn't a good idea because we had to dress up. You know, I was sharp that day. I had a brand new pair of shoes from Friedman, had a nice walking suit. I was looking good, to be honest with you. Had a nice afro, you know, sharp as they say, as sharp as rat shit on both ends. But anyway, I'm walking down through the ghetto. And I said, no, I better catch a cab. So a cab was coming down the hill. I waved the cab over. The guy stopped, looked in. I looked in. He said, you know, where you going? I said, I'm going to the Marriott. He said, it's $5. I said, okay. So he opened the door. As he opened the door, I got in, sat down. Cab took off. Well, I didn't check the back seat. There was a guy laying down in the back seat. And this is my wife calling, so I'll call her later. But anyway, the guy was sitting in the back seat. So he gets up, slides. Wait a minute, let me get this thing out.
Might be George. Is it George?
Yeah, she does that to me all the time, every time I'm talking. So anyway, the guy slides over, and he sits behind me. Now, the cab was doing about 40 miles an hour. So he pulls a switchblade. And I stepped right out the cab. Standing up, felt good for about 2 seconds. But then the wind hit me and knocked me backwards. So I'm laying in the middle of the street. Glad I had an afro, because if I didn't have an afro, I was like this, I wouldn't have no head. So I'm laying there, I said, oh no, I gotta get up. So I rolled out of the middle of the street, got up, walked back up to the hotel, because the cab was backing up, coming, I guess, to finish the job. So anyway, I got back up to the hotel and I said, oh God, I gotta get another cab. So I looked in the ashtray, looked behind the back seat, got in the cab, took off, went to the hotel. Now you gotta understand, there's 3 bus loads of little old ladies, religious little old ladies, they're getting off the buses. And I had to walk through the lobby. Well, imagine this, getting off, when I fell back, my pants got ripped off just along the seams, and they were hanging down. I didn't notice that. The big hole in my suit jacket was gone. I walked through the lobby, and you guys ever heard of Prince, the singer? Anyway, I looked like I had chaps on. But nothing in the back. So I had to walk through the lobby that way. And them little old ladies was just peeking. Most of them wanted to pinch, but I said, no way. So I got back to the room, and George Foster was my roommate. And I walked in the room, and he said, look like you've been hit by a truck. And I said, pretty close. So I'm laying there in the bed, having nightmares. Larry Starr comes up. He gives me a couple painkillers, wraps my arm up because it was all messed up. So they told me I wasn't going to play the next day. Now, this is what you call teammates. I just want you to understand. These are teammates I got. Next day, I get to the ballpark. Sparky puts me in the lineup. And, oh, God, I'm already hurting. I got to play. So anyway, Pete grounds out to first base. He's running back across the mound like he usually does, calls the pitcher a name and keeps going. So George hollers at me. He says, Ken, look at the scoreboard. I'm paying him no mind. I don't want to listen to that. You know. He said, look at the scoreboard. So I look up at the scoreboard as I'm looking, you know, the scoreboard is right to the right of the picture. I look at the scoreboard, it says, thanks to the Atlanta cab drivers for a job well done. That's them dirty. And they were all laughing. They had a good time with that, okay? So anyway, after the game, I'm sitting there. I end up going 3 for 4, you know, a couple of base hits, we win the game, and I'm sitting there. And Bernie Stowe, who's Mr. Cincinnati, walks over to me. He said, hey, Ken. He said, I just want to tell you there's a whole lot of cabs out there waiting on you. He said, if you jump out of all of them, you should have 3,000 hits by the end of the season. I was born and raised in a small town, Donora, Pennsylvania, which our first inductee, a Hall of Fame inductee, that was called Ringgold High School. Before that was Donora High School. Well, there was 4 of us who was inducted into the Hall of Fame there. It was a guy that you may know, Joe Montana, myself, Stan Musial, and Fred Cox were the 4 first ever to be inducted in the Ringgold Hall of Fame. So I was just letting him know that I know Joe Montana real well. You know, he wasn't that good in high school, but I knew him. But we were talking about different stories and stuff. You know, when I came up through the minor leagues, there was one big thing that happened to me in Wichita, Kansas. And George Foster kept me in trouble all the time. So, and I guess most of you know George. You're giggling like you know him. So anyway, we're playing in Wichita. And I'm playing right field, George is in center field. And the sun was over the stadium, point right in right field. So, you know, with minor league glasses, you just flip them down, you know, you're okay, but they don't work. You know, you're still blind when you flip them down, you can't see anything. So anyway, we're playing a guy named Pat Burke, was in hitting, big left-hander. And McEnany was pitching, Will McEnany. And he took a big swing. And I knew the ball went up. I wasn't sure where it went because when I flicked my glasses, I didn't see anything. And I seen something go that way. So I took off running to right center field. And I'm still running. I run by the center fielder. Imagine this. The center fielder on all fours laughing, which was George Foster. I said, George, did you see the ball? He said, no. He said, if you keep on running and jump over the center field wall, you'll catch that bird you've been chasing for the last 15 minutes. Those are the things I had to go through, you know? Then I had to deal with the last little story is it the GCL that Roger Bacon's in? I can't stand the GCL. I'm gonna explain why. When Junior was a senior and Junior and senior in high school, I'm playing for the Yankees. Every time I went to see him play, they would tell me, don't show up, because he couldn't hit. It took him 6 years to get a hit in front of me. But the situation was, they gave me a pair of binoculars one day, and they told me to go up on the hill, somewhere in Western Hills, I don't remember, and watch the game from up there. You know what I'm saying? What am I going to do watching a game in binoculars up there? They might think I'm on a stakeout somewhere. Well, every time I watched Junior play, he struck out. He struck out at least 15 times. The last time I seen him play, before hit the draft in June '87, there was 48 scouts watching him over in Lakota. And Junior, you know, was there, and everybody, all the scouts, even I was with the Atlanta Braves at the time, and Bobby Cox was our general manager. So Bobby was there, and I come over, and we as a Brave, we were going to play the Reds that night. So I go over and watch Junior play. So I asked Bobby, I said, what you doing here? Bobby said, we're here to watch your son. I said, well, he can't hit. Good. Good. Bobby said, yeah, right. I said, well, watch. So first time up, he takes 3. Strike, 3 strikes, he's out. Second time, swings through it, he's out. Another strikeout. I said, kid, I'll see you tonight. I got to go to work. He said, okay, Dad, I'll see you later. Now, he wasn't upset. Struck out twice, and they had all them scouts watching him. I said, that's good. I said, that's nice. So I go down to Atlanta. We couldn't beat our grandmothers. That's the kind of team we had in Atlanta. Had Dale Murphy, Bob Horner, Rick Mailer. All good names, but we couldn't win a game. They were known for playing golf and playing baseball. I remember we went on a road trip. We had 47 golf clubs, bags, on our airplane. We didn't have no luggage. Yeah, this was the Atlanta Braves. That's all they did was play golf. But anyway, I get back that night, and I asked Junior, I said, how'd you do? He said, I did okay. I said, how did you do? He said, 3 for 5, 2 home runs. I wanted to kill him. Now, this has been 3 years now. He hasn't got a hit in front of me. So I'm getting a little impatient. So now he gets drafted by the Mariners, all right? So I said, okay, that's fine. Now he'll be okay. I'm with Atlanta. He's in Medford, Oregon, okay? Medford, Oregon. So I'm flying. I got an off day, and we're going to play L.A. the next night in L.A. So I had an off day. I fly to Medford, Oregon, and watch him play. First thing he does, strikes out. He had 3 dozen bats. Everything was taken care of. He was fine. He strikes out. So after his first full year in the minor leagues, he decided, they're going to send him to the instruction league. So I go to the instruction league. I drove an RV all the way to Arizona. Me and the wife, we're going to go all the way to Arizona, watch him play. And I asked him one question. Please get a hit. Because this ride with your mother all the way back home, and she's going to talk about me because I shouldn't have came to the game. He said, Dad, I got it taken care of. He got a base hit. The rest is history. So we didn't have to worry about him, But playing with him, I didn't know he was that good until I played with him. I really didn't. I had no idea that this kid can cover that much ground. He had that type of arm, and he had that type of power. And batting average to boot, all in one package. They said 5-tool player. He might have been more than that. Because I told him, I'm only covering 3 square feet in left field, and you got the rest. And he covered every inch of it. I remember he caught a ball in front of me, and I was camped under it, and he runs right by me. Now, he's 6'3", I'm only 6 foot, so he's a lot bigger, But he runs by me, and the ball disappeared. And I start ducking, and I'm looking for the ball on the ground, can't find it. And I look at the scoreboard or the big old television, I guess it was. And he's running off the field with his hand covered over his arm. I didn't think it was that funny. So I get to the dugout. I said, hey, kid, come here. I said, one thing I'm going to let you know. is you don't embarrass your dad that way. And you're grounded. For the rest of your life for embarrassing your dad. But that night we hit the 2 home runs. I hit mine first. I want everybody in this audience to know that I was 41, old, as they called me, but mine went the furthest, the home run. I hit mine left center field, way out. His just went over the fence. So I figured for an old man, I figured for an old man, I got him covered. So, but this has been a real pleasure for me to get here. I got a nice trip back and all that winter weather, but this is worth it right here to see all you guys. And I've never been in this front of all these men. I figured they'd be throwing bottles and beer cans and stuff. But that's later. That's later. All right, I'm be gone then. But it's been fun. I enjoyed it, and I want to thank Roger Bacon for having me here. It's been a pleasure, and this honor, is very welcome. I want to thank you all. Thank you.
Okay, we got a bunch of things to kind of finish up here. This is a true story. Last night I was out to dinner at Outback, and sitting diagonally from me was George Foster, and if you guys all know, he was here 2 years ago. He looks over and he goes, "Hey, that's Mike from Roger Bacon." Didn't remember my last name, but I was like, "Hey," say, "Hey, George, how are you?" So he yells across the, and the reason we got the cab story, George yells across the restaurant. He's like, "Hey, I heard you got Griffey for your stag tomorrow night." And I said, "Yeah, as a matter of fact, we do. I said, and he goes, "You got junior or you got senior?" And I started laughing. I said, "Well, we got Ken Griffey Senior." And so at this point, the rest of Outback was wondering what the hell we were talking about because they saw George Foster sitting there talking about him. So I walk up to George at the end, and I'm paying my bill, and I walk up. I said, "Hey, George, good to see you." And the first thing he tells me is, he goes, "Well, you know, Griffey and I were roommates." And I said, "Is that right?" And he goes, "Make sure he tells the cab story." So I'm glad he told the cab story. I was looking forward to that tonight. So, true story. For all the raffle baskets, all of the winning tickets are taped to the box. Please see one of the Bacon Stag Committee guys that are back there at the tables. They will verify your tickets. Check them before you leave. Those of you that took a chance on the framed jersey, here is the winning ticket. So go ahead, get out your ticket numbers. Was that? Oh, good. Here are the raffle numbers, so you don't even have to go in the back. Here are the raffle numbers for the different prize packages. But for the big award here tonight, the jersey up front, winning number 294059. 294059. So if we got a winner, please come up here and see us. Ken Griffey will sign the jersey before you guys leave. We want to thank, if you see the frame picture up here, Heirloom Framing was the company that did that for us, and we really appreciate it. They donated that. So once again, we want to thank congratulate all the Hall of Fame winners. Mr. Carey for the Brown Basevich Award. We want to thank Josh Sneed and Michael Flannery for doing a hell of a job. Thank all of you Spartans for coming. One hell of a night. Hail Spartans!